He's been a rapper, a preacher, a judge on The Voice, and at one point, even a literal golden gladiator at the Grammys. From his southern roots with Goodie Mob, to the psychedelic stint of Gnarls Barkley, to his sparkly solo stardom, CeeLo has shape-shifted through the industry with the confidence of a man who's never colored inside the lines. With Grammy wins, chart-topping hits, critical flops turned cult classics, and a vocal style that influenced an entire generation of genre-defying artists, CeeLo's discography is one worth diving into, and obviously, the reason we've gathered here today. In this episode, we are ranking every CeeLo Green studio album, including both of his collaborative works with Danger Mouse as Gnarls Barkley, from the good to the great to the ones that had us shouting, "Forget you," respectfully of course. So thumbs up if you like it, share and subscribe if you love it, and hit the Patreon and merch table if you support it. Now that that's out of the way, let's get to it. Number 8, CeeLo's Magic Moment. With Magic Moment, CeeLo traded his soul rap fusion for a sleigh full of holiday cheer. His first Christmas album is exactly what you'd expect if a funk wizard fronted a retro holiday review. Big vocals, big energy, and plenty of sparkle. CeeLo's voice is the star here, breathing life into classics like Run Rudolph Run, Donny Hathaway's This Christmas, and even Mariah's All I Want for Christmas. The production, handled by Adam Anders and Pierre Astrom, makes everything lush and fireplace ready. Guest spots from Christina Aguilera, Rod Stewart, and the Muppets only add to the fun, especially the playful All I Need Is Love. The catch? It's all covers. Without originals, the album feels more like a festive pit stop than a career milestone. Once the tree's down, it goes into hibernation with the rest of the holiday records. Number 7, CeeLo Green and His Perfect Imperfections. CeeLo's solo debut was exactly what the title promised: bold, messy, and unapologetically left field. After stepping away from Goodie Mob around World Party, he landed at Arista with 73 minutes of music that refused to sit still. Funk, gospel, hip-hop, soul, all stitched together by the one-of-a-kind voice. Half preacher, half philosopher, half space-age funk shaman. The single Closet Freak is the record's clearest statement, a flamboyant George Clinton homage paired with a wild visual that made sure you didn't forget it. Cuts like Medieval Times, Micro Hard, and the big Gip-assisted Sugar Baby leaned into the weird, while Getting Grown gave a rare glimpse of CeeLo's reflective side as a father and husband. Critics were split. Some called it inventive, others brushed it off with lazy Andre 3000 comparisons. Commercially, it landed at number 11 on the Billboard 200 and number 2 on the R&B chart, selling about 250,000 copies, with Closet Freak sneaking into the Hot 100. More sketchbook than masterpiece, Perfect Imperfections doesn't fully lock in as a cohesive project, but it stamps CeeLo as an artist who refused to play by the rules. Number 6, CeeLo Green is Thomas Callaway. By 2020, CeeLo had already worn more musical identities than most artists could dream of. Goodie Mob MC, Gnarls Barkley's charismatic frontman, the slick singer behind The Lady Killer, even the holiday showman of Magic Moment. But with Thomas Callaway, he set all that aside. No personas, no costumes, no alter egos, just his government name on the cover and a stripped-down sense of self. Produced by Dan Auerbach of the Black Keys, the record trades theatrics for intimacy, leaning into gospel, country soul, and vintage Southern R&B. Backed by seasoned Nashville players and live analog warmth, the sound is tender, lived in, and deeply human. Standouts like Lead Me and I Wonder How Love Feels reach for something higher, while The Way cuts deep as a meditation on faith and redemption. The restraint here is the revelation. For once, CeeLo doesn't demand a spotlight, he earns it through subtlety. The album didn't move numbers, but it resonated. Critics and fans alike hailed it as one of his most personal projects, a healing, reflective return to the soulful roots that were always there beneath the flash. Number 5, Heart Blanche. When Heart Blanche dropped in November 2015, it should have been a triumphant return. 5 years had passed since The Lady Killer, an album that gave us Forget You, a Grammy, and CeeLo at the height of his powers. But instead of headlines about the music, this project landed in the shadow of controversy. Between 2012 and 2014, CeeLo's legal troubles and widely condemned comments about consent left his public image battered. By the time Heart Blanche arrived, many critics and fans weren't listening with open ears. Reviews leaned harsh, Metacritic clocked it at 57, and what could have been a comeback was dismissed before it had a chance to even breathe. Strip away the noise though, and Heart Blanche is a surprisingly layered pop soul record. The glossy openers, Tonight and Established 1980s, lean heavy into pop dance sheen, but the second half finds its soul. Robin Williams is a sobering tribute that wrestles with fame and mental health, CeeLo Green sings the blues might be one of his most honest vocal performances. Purple Hearts, Soldier of Love, and Thorns showcase vulnerability and grit, the qualities that made CeeLo magnetic in the first place. Despite production credits from names like Mark Ronson, John Bellion, and Charlie Puth, the album failed to chart meaningfully. None of his singles hit, and the project peaked modestly overseas. But Heart Blanche isn't a failure. It's a snapshot of an artist at a crossroads, trying to reconcile public downfall with personal redemption. Messy, yes. Underrated, absolutely. Beneath the gloss and the headlines, CeeLo was still wrestling with his flaws through song. And for listeners willing to hear past the static, there's plenty worth sitting with. Remember those albums that changed everything? The ones you played on repeat? The soundtracks of your story? Now, they're not just memories, they're wearable. 8 classic albums pressed into every hoodie and tee. For the ones who grew up on that real hip-hop, and the ones who are still catching up, this is more than merch, it's a tribute. Wear what raised you. Available now at shop.culturalisttheory.com. Number 4, Gnarls Barkley, The Odd Couple. By 2K8, CeeLo Green had already rewritten his story. With Crazy dominating the globe and St. Elsewhere going multi-platinum, he wasn't just a soulful voice from Goodie Mob anymore. He was a pop cultural force. The man from Atlanta's underground had leapfrogged most of his Dungeon family peers, aside from Outkast. In fact, it's fair to say that until Killer Mike's run with the Jules Renaissance and Future's meteoric rise with DJ Esco, CeeLo was the most recognizable solo act to emerge from the Dungeon. That set the stage for The Odd Couple. Instead of chasing another Crazy, CeeLo and Danger Mouse doubled down on their psychedelic soul chemistry. The result is darker, denser, and more emotionally layered than its predecessor, an album meant to be consumed whole, not sliced into playlist singles. Run, I'm a Natural Disaster was the Flash's entry point, with his retro soul theatrics and a Justin Timberlake hosted video that got banned in the US for strobe overload. But the real heart of the record beats in its shadows. Who's Gonna Save My Soul is a gut punch ballad, while A Little Better and Would Be Killer sink into heavier terrain. Songs like Open Book and Neighbor tested listeners' patience, not built for casual streaming, but for those willing to sit with discomfort. Commercially, the duo still pulled weight. The album debuted at number 12 on the Billboard 200, topped the dance electronic chart, cracked the top 20 overseas, and sold around 250,000 in the US. Singles like Run and Going On proved they could flirt with accessibility without losing their experimental edge. In hindsight, The Odd Couple feels prophetic. Before 808s and Heartbreak or Awaken My Love, Gnarls Barkley were already showing how black artists could bend genres, moods, and expectations on a mainstream stage. Fans still ask if another album is coming. CeeLo's hinted yes, Danger Mouse stays quiet. But whether the reunion happens or not, this record stands tall. If St. Elsewhere was the Carnival's invitation, The Odd Couple is the walk through its darker tunnels, unsettling, unforgettable, and way ahead of its time. Number 3, CeeLo Green is the Soul Machine. By the time Soul Machine dropped in 2004, CeeLo had something to prove. His debut, Perfect Imperfections, was bold but messy, more cult favorite than classic. This time though, he came back sharper, more focused, and with a point to make. He wasn't just eccentric, he was elite. The lineup alone signaled his ambition. The Neptunes, Timbaland, Jazzy Faye, DJ Premier, Organized Noise, a who's who of early 2000s production. Yet even with all that swirling around, the album never loses its center. CeeLo's high-pitched, gospel-tinged delivery might not be for everyone, but here he wields it like a weapon, flipping between rapper, crooner, and preacher with fluid ease. More dexterity than a short-order cook at Cheesecake Factory making chicken parmesan and egg foo young for the same table. The features tell part of the story. Ludacris goes playful on Child's Play, T.I. flexes on the Bossy the One, and Pharrell joins the Art of the Noise, a Neptunes-produced anthem about artistic freedom. But it's on solo cuts like Living Again and When We Were Friends where CeeLo bears his soul. On Die Trying, he unloads his frustration with an industry that labeled him extreme and alternative instead of simply great. I'm in a box with a view, but you still want to gate me. The numbers for the album were decent. Number 13 on the Billboard 200, number 2 on the R&B chart, plus the Timbaland-assisted I'll Be Around. Critically, the project landed him among the 1001 albums you must hear before you die. If the poetry interludes slightly stall momentum, they don't dim the shine. Soul Machine is the moment CeeLo stopped trying to squeeze into hip-hop's boxes and started building his own lane. Number 2, Gnarls Barkley, Saint Elsewhere. By the time Saint Elsewhere dropped, CeeLo Green was already a proven talent. He had co-written TLC's Waterfalls, helped define the Dungeon Family sound with Goodie Mob, and released 2 ambitious solo albums. But even with critical love, the commercial breakthrough never came. After Arista dropped him in 2004, it could have looked like the end of the road. Instead, we know a setback is just a setup for a comeback. Shout out to J. Will. Enter Danger Mouse, fresh off the Great album. That's the Beatles' White Album mashup with Jay-Z's Black Album. And the producer linked with CeeLo, and their chemistry was immediate. Together, they crafted Saint Elsewhere, a record that feels like pure instinct, which makes sense that Lo said it only took about a week to record. The album is genreless, fearless, and emotionally deep, which can also be read as heavy. On Just a Thought, CeeLo walks a tightrope of depression and suicidal ideation, offering one of the most honest and haunting vocal performances of his career. The Boogie Monster turns paranoia into a funky bedtime story, while Who Cares captures the constant push and pull of identity. And then there's Crazy, a once-in-a-generation single. It dominated globally, number 1 in the UK for 9 weeks, number 2 on the Hot 100, and the first UK chart topper based only on digital downloads. Critics crowned it one of the best songs of 2006. And it went multi-platinum, and won Best Alternative Music Album and Best Urban Alternative Performance for Crazy, losing Album of the Year to Taken a Long Way by the Chicks. They might have still been Dixie then. The competition was intense though, with Justin Timberlake's Future Sex Love Sounds also being a contender. But it was clear Saint Elsewhere left its mark. And still, the project is more than just its biggest hit. Tracks like Transformer, The Last Time, and the title cut prove CeeLo could rap, sing, and perform at a world-class level, sometimes in the same verse. Looking back, Saint Elsewhere wasn't a side quest, it was CeeLo leveling up. In one lightning bolt session, CeeLo Green and Danger Mouse bent genres, shifted culture, and delivered a classic. Number 1, The Lady Killer. By 2010, CeeLo Green had worn almost every hat. Dungeon Family rapper, eccentric soloist, and half of Gnarls Barkley. He'd seen acclaim, but also setbacks, from being dropped by Arista to people giving all the credit to Danger Mouse for Crazy. For years, he was the overlooked visionary or the quirky sidekick, rarely the main event. The Lady Killer changed all of that. Released in November of 2010, the album feels like a full-blown coronation. Bold, cinematic, and dripping with retro soul, it casts CeeLo as a romantic anti-hero in a soundtrack built from heartbreak, bravado, and velvet harmonies. His voice is the centerpiece, theatrical, raw, and impossible to ignore, set against lavish production that blends Motown horns, funk grooves, and glossy pop polish. The breakout hit was Fuck You, or Forget You on radio, a cheeky, infectious kiss-off that shot to number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100, went multi-platinum, and earned Grammy nominations across the board. But the album proved CeeLo wasn't just riding a viral wave, it managed to balance cheeky wit with genuine heartbreak. Singles like Bright Lights, Bigger City, and It's Okay carried weight in the UK charts, while deeper cuts, I Want You, Hold On to Love, Cry Baby, and the Grammy-winning Fool for You with Melanie Fiona revealed just how much depth sat under the flash. Critics praised its balance of pop accessibility and classic soul ambition, and the world responded. The Lady Killer went multi-platinum overseas, peaked at number 9 on the Billboard 200, and number 3 in the UK. The song Forget You earned CeeLo a Grammy for Best Urban Alternative Performance, and Fool for You with the aforementioned Melanie Fiona earned both Grammys for Best R&B Song and Best Traditional R&B Performance. Most importantly, it reframes CeeLo not as a flamboyant flash in the pan, but as a global star with range and vision. If his early albums were experiments and Saint Elsewhere was lightning in a bottle, The Lady Killer was the payoff, the moment everything finally clicked. So, click everything. Like, subscribe, share, hit the merch shelf to show us some love. If you're rocking with this list, we've got plenty more Dungeon Family here. Tap into our rankings of Outkast, Future, and Killer Mike right here on the channel. I'm QB. Peace.